Hey Raiders, Jacko here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. So today I wanted to go over a revelation that I had recently in the game. And I'm sorry to say, it's not a very good revelation. It's actually made me rather sad. Bluntly put, in Raid Shadow Legends, legendary champions are just not for free-to-play players. Everything is stacked against us free-to-play players when it comes to legendary champions. And what I mean by this is that it takes a while to get a legendary champion, and yes, at 160 days, if I'm not mistaken, which I'm getting rather close to, we do get Scylla the Drakes, if I can ever go to the daily login rewards, there we go. Or at 180 days, we get Scylla the Drakes as our first legendary champion out of the daily logins. But when it comes right down to it, legendary champions on a whole are just not built for free-to-play players. It's a very sad fact of this game. I mean, I am 5 months into the game now. I've gotten 3 legendary champions. One I created from a fragment fusion with Iron Brago, and 2 others that I've pulled, and it just isn't viable for me to use more than one of them. So in 5 months, I have gotten a total of something like 15 legendary tomes. And this is where the crux of the situation comes down to when it comes to legendary champions for free-to-play players. So Iron Brago here, if we come and take a look at his skills, I've gotten 4 tomes there. I've gotten 6 tomes there, so we're looking at 10 tomes. And then another 5 tomes there, so 15 tomes. He has taken every single one of my legendary tomes that I've gathered in 5 months of play. Think about that. 5 months of play for 15. That's 3 legendary tomes a month. Now, let's take that to Scylla the Drakes. I am just clicking all over the place in all the wrong places. So let's go take a look at Scylla the Drakes. So she needs 4 tomes there, another 5 tomes there, so 9 tomes. 10, 11 tomes. She takes 11 tomes. So by the time you get Scylla the Drakes, if you saved every single one of your tomes, you'll be able to fully book her. However, if you've gotten any other legendaries, if you got excited in 6 months about someone you drew and used legendary tomes, you're not even going to be able to fully book out Scylla the Drakes, who is an absolutely incredible champ. She can carry you the rest of the way through the campaign, or through the game into mid to end game content. She's absolutely amazing, but in 6 months, you can barely book her. Now, there are certainly players out there who are better than me, who are hitting the tournaments and the events in such a way that they're getting legendary tomes out of those. Or they're in Nightmare or Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss already and getting legendary tomes out of there. But even when it comes to events and tournaments, getting to legendary tomes is not easy. So we've got a Dungeon Divers event here. Even up at max, no legendary tome. Champion Training event. 14,250 points to get a legendary skill tome. That's ludicrous. There's no way. I would have to spend literally all of my saved resources just to get a single legendary tome. And I've banked a lot of resources at this point, just because I haven't participated in any of the other ones, any of the recent fusions and everything. Tournaments are the same way. Unless you get lucky and get put in a group where you can get the number 1 spot and it happens to have a legendary tome in it, you're likely not going to get a legendary tome. So 2,750 points, and I get a chicken. It's a 4-star chicken out of the Spider Tournament. If it loads, and we look at the number 1 spot, there's no legendary tome there either. So our only avenues to get legendary tome are some events, which we have to spend a ton of resource on. We've got some challenges that get you up to a legendary tome, but I mean, some of these are really hard. Upgrade a Magic Champion to rank 6. Upgrade a Spirit Champion to rank 6. Upgrade all these champions to rank 6. Win a campaign battle using 4 champions of level 60. So I can get my last tome pretty easily here. And this is part 5 of 5. I've got, one more of these that I can do to possibly get another legendary tome, and then it's gone. It's done. I'm already done with artifacts. Getting legendary tome if I can get to gold 1 eventually. So the legendary tomes we're getting are few and far between unless we get to Nightmare or Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss. So when it comes to getting legendaries, you're looking at being able to fully book and fully utilize a legendary as a free-to-play player once every 3 months if you're a badass. That's just not viable. I mean, how many legendaries are you going to pull that are going to be that easy to book, that are really going to make that kind of a change for that amount of time? There are a few, most certainly. Honestly, Iron Brago, for me, he's done a lot of good. But for 15 books, he's not what I needed at the time. I use him everywhere because he is a good hero and he is fully booked at this point. But I should have saved the books for Scylla the Drakes when it comes right down to it. I should have waited and not done it. And when we look at it even one step further, the new champions that are coming out, let's go into Shadowkin. The new legendary champions are eating more and more books. Wow, that was actually not a great. So we've got 4 books there, 5 books there, 4 books there. So maybe they finally heard us when they put in the Shadowkin about the books. But if you've looked at the trends coming up to where we are now in the game, the amount of books to fully book out a legendary champion has just been going up and up. 4 books there, another 5, another 5. You're looking at, anywhere between 12 to 20 books for a legendary champion. It's brutal. And given that we're looking at 3 to 5 books a month for free-to-play players, it's just not... As a free-to-play player, you're not going to have a team of legendaries. You're not going to have that team that can get you to all the way through Doom Tower on hard. It's just not going to happen. The game will not be out long enough for that to happen. So, and the final nail in the coffin that I've realized is if you watch the interviews and such that other content creators have been doing with the Polarium people, and you've looked at the Polarium's responses, book availability has been an outcry in the community for months now. Probably longer than that. Probably longer than I've been in the game, in all honesty. And anytime it's brought up in an interview or anything, the Polarium shifts the conversation. They talk about this idea that they're going to have about bringing this in that has another way to augment your characters, or that they're looking into it and they've got several ideas in mind, but they have no definitive answer, no way, nothing to tell us about solving the book problem. And frankly, it's one of the biggest problems in Raid right now. I mean, I don't really care when I'm pulling stuff if I pull a legendary champ anymore, because I just can't utilize them. So what's the answer for us free-to-play players? And the simple answer is that we have to, when we pull a legendary character, come in and take a look at them. Take a look at their skills. Can I play this champion without books? Is this a viable thing? Can I play Elenarl here with their Smolder, attacks all enemies, places a 5% poison debuff for 2 turns, places a second one for 2 turns if the attack is critical. So we're looking at 2 poisons. But I have to look at it as every 4 turns, not every 3 turns. Is that viable? Does that make it worthwhile to us? Is her poison, explosion, and combust worth it on a 6-turn cooldown? Sure, very likely worth it on a 4-turn cooldown, but I don't have the books to make that happen. So anytime we pull a legendary, we're going to have to look very hard at their skills and decide, is this character actually viable with no books? Is that something that I can use? And And for that reason, I think that legendary characters, champions in Raid Shadow Legends, are geared for people who spend money, for people who can buy the books instead of having to earn them at the sloth pace that the rest of us have to. It's a very sad realization on my part. I was very excited when I pulled Elenarl here, another legendary, my third legendary. Very excited that I'm getting close to Rosin in the permanent fusion, until I realized that they're not viable characters until they're booked. So I can't use them. I'm dreading getting to my 180 days and getting Syl of the Drakes. It's going to be amazing to have her as a champion, but when it comes down to it, I won't have the books at that point. I will have a couple books, and if they fall in the right skills, maybe I can use her. But for the most part, she's going to sit in my champion, in my vault, essentially, for months until I can use her. And that's disheartening. It really is. So, as a free-to-play player, when you're going through, and when you get these legendary champions finally, take a breath, be excited for a little bit, and then really delve into them and find out, are they a champion who you can utilize and really progress your game without any books? That's going to be your biggest question. Doesn't matter how badass they are, doesn't matter if it's Dracomorph, but if you have no books to spend, you have to decide if they're actually a champion worthwhile with no books. Since I will never have books to make a real video on Elenarl here, I'll go ahead and do the aesthetic review on her. She's an archer, so we're expecting some kind of lighter armor in this respect. She's got very nicely engraved greaves here, wearing high heels, and I've discussed high heels with you before. It's all about what you've trained in when it comes right down to it. As I said, I've seen a woman fight the pants off of me up and down a mountain an entire day in 6-inch stiletto thigh highs, because she's worn those high heels all her life. It's what she learned to fight in. So, she's good at it. In fact, she's a much less effective fighter in flats. So, we're not going to dock points for heels. We can assume that they have learned how to fight in them. The greaves come up into very nice knee guards with protection on the sides. She's got a little bit of upper leg protection here, though it's attached to the knees, so it's going to float around a lot. Is it very protective? So-so. It looks great. No upper leg protection at all. It looks like she's got tights or something on there. So a lot of mobility in that regard, and as an archer, that's something she's going to want. We've got what looks like scale mail here, maybe. So overlapping bits of metal. It could also just be tooled leather, but either way, she's protecting her hips. Those pointy bones at the top of your hips, those hurt a lot when they get hit. So that's really good, and the drape is very nice. Looks like it's cloth, but it's layered cloth, so it can offer some protection to her legs in that regard. Her quiver here on the side, I'm not a bowman. I don't know if that's a really effective place for it, or if it's going to get in her way. She's the expert archer. I'm going to assume she knows. We've got actually what looks like solid chest protection here. It's curved to her form, which actually doesn't happen a whole lot. It's a very anime-esque thing. Generally, you'll see, chest armor, and it's, chest armor. Looks much the same on a female as it does on a male. You don't really get these boob-fitting chest plates all that much in real combat. But elven craftsmanship, we'll give it to them. They've spent many years formulating boob armor, apparently, for their female fighters. Looks like leather van braces, just fine, a lot of movement. Leather on the one side, looks like metal on the right-hand side here, which is just fine. Effective. They're not heavy, so they're going to give her freedom of movement for the use of her bow. Her pauldrons are actually really nicely done. They're small, they're formed to her shoulder, but still decorative, still gives a sense of the effort that went into this armor. So very beautiful pauldrons there. she actually has much of a full helm, formed to her ears. A little weird, but intimidating for sure. Very nicely tooled again. She's actually in really decent armor. She doesn't have any back of the head protection, but she's got very heavy hair from the looks of it, so that might give her some protection. She's got no neck protection. So she's going to be able to move her head quite a bit more freely than if she had a gorget there, which for an archer can be very useful. However, it's no protection, so that's something she's going to really have to look out for when she's fighting. Finally, we have these little metal wings. I'm not sure what's up with those. It looks like our high elf here is trying to be a fairy. She even has long draping wings as part of her outfit, made out of the cloth. So she's definitely trying to be a fairy of some sort, which is fine. Everybody's got their kink. And because of where it's attached kind of in the middle of the back, just inside the shoulder blades from the looks of it, it's going to move out of her way for all of her bow firing and everything. It wouldn't be great if she was a melee combatant, but it doesn't hinder her as a ranged combatant. So this is the first time we've seen extraneous armor pieces that really aren't an issue. I'm pretty impressed. So overall, armor-wise, we're going to go ahead and give Elnaril here a 4 gourd. Weapons, she's got a very nice bow here. It maintains that wing motif. Screaming Fae there. Gold tooling on the black is beautiful. It's a great choice. As usual, she's holding the arrow in the wrong place to actually fire it, but that's a constant in raid. Apparently nobody at the raid artist team has ever fired a bow and knows where that should actually be placed. But overall, it's very nice. She's got a good quiver, although she's down to 3 arrows. That's going to be an issue in a prolonged fight. Overall, I'm going to go ahead and give her bow a nice, solid 4 gourd. Badassitude, she is in absolutely gorgeous tooled armor, absolutely gorgeously embroidered and all clothing, the cloth portions of her outfit here. She strikes me as someone who would be a presence on the battlefield. You would notice her across the field, and the fact that she is a bowman is going to make you a little bit wary of her unless you can get around her defenders to get to her. As soon as you get around her defenders, as with just about every bowman out there, she's gonna be dead. But until that point, she's gonna be a presence on the battlefield. And due to the exquisite quality of the armor and the weapon, she's going to pull your attention just a little bit more. She's going to be more vital in your assessment of the battlefield than if she was in plain clothes with a crossbow or a regular bow. In that regard, as badassitude, I'm going to have to go ahead and give Elnaril here 4 gourds as well. So, as an overall aesthetic, she is an armored archer. Unlike Coldheart, who is all about the sex instead of the substance, she's got substance, and she's pulls it off with a great air of femininity and attractiveness as well. She's really well-rounded in regards to her aesthetics. And the extraneous pieces she has, the wings and such, aren't there just for looks. They don't get in her way, which is impressive. It's very different than most of the other champions that we have gone through. So all in all, for Elnaril's aesthetics, we're going to give her a 4 gourd. I'm very happy with her. She doesn't... I think she would have gotten a 5 gourd, all in all, if she had had some of those magic effects that we see on some of the other characters, but she is an older legendary. She's not one of the new ones they're coming out with. So, for her time and place, she's wonderful. So, there you have it. Gone over the biggest problem when it comes to legendaries for free-to-play players. It's just so difficult to actually utilize them because of how slow and how hard it is to get legendary books. As I said, this problem mitigates itself a little bit when you get to Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare clan boss, But you're going to have to decide. When you get a legendary, are you going to dive into events as hard as you can to get those legendary books? Or are you going to save your resources for things like Fragment Champion summons and such? Because you can't do both as a free-to-play player, at least not up to 5 months. It's just not a feasibility. So if you have any tips or tricks about how to get legendary books, how to make these legendary champions more viable for a free-to-play player, please put them in the comments below. As always, please like, subscribe, and toll that bell. It really does help out the channel in here and keeps me bringing you free-to-play content. Otherwise, thank you again, and we'll see you next time on Jacko's Raider Rants.